This is going to be a follow-up tutorial on Red Team submittals. We're expanding Red Team and adding some more forms to it, and some more submittals are going to be done through Red Team. So we wanted to do this tutorial to go over some of the other processes that we need to use in order to submit those forms. So most of the forms are going to be submitted. Nearly all of the forms are going to be submitted by filling them out on the computer digitally and then attaching them to IA Pro when you create an incident. The other way, some of our forms are not fillable digitally yet. So if you have a form that's not fillable digitally, then you'll have to print that form out and fill it out by hand the way that you normally do. And then that will be sent to you through the department scanner to your email address, and we'll go over how to do that as well. So the first thing is you need to find the form. So if you don't already have the forms downloaded, the templates downloaded onto the city computer, go into SharePoint and then click on CFD Forms. And we're going to do a trade of time form. That's one of the more complex ones. So when you click on the PDF form in SharePoint, it's going to take you to the web browser view of the form, and you can fill it out here, but the problem is you can't save what you fill out here. So you need to download the form, this template. So if you click on this little download button here, and it's going to ask you where to download it. If you don't already have one, you should create a folder on your desktop for blank forms or form templates. And so this is a trade of time form, and we're going to save that. So now once that's saved, we're done here. And now we're going to open up that folder where we just saved that. So that's our trade of time form. So this one, we're going to open it up here. You'll notice when I double click on it and I open it, it doesn't take me to the web browser, it takes me to Adobe. So this is where we can fill it out and actually save it, keeping our edits that we added in there. So from here, if the form is digital, we're just going to fill it out. We're just going to put some basic information in here. We'll pretend we fill the whole thing out. The signatures are not required because when you submit something through Red Team, it's digitally tracked and verified that you were the person who logged in and submitted this, so that is considered as good as a signature. That's one of the benefits and why we're using this system, because it is recognized as being as secure as a signature. So once you finish filling out your form in here you would put in member one's information, member two's information, just like you do when you fill out a trade paper, and all the other information. Then when you're done, you click on File and Save As. You don't want to click Save, because if you just click Save, it's just going to overwrite your template. So the next person that tries to fill out the form, they're going to see all your information in there. So we'll go to the folder that we want to save our completed form in, and you want to name it something so you know that it's not the template. We'll just put the date in here and save. Okay, so now we're done with that. Now we have our form filled out and saved, and you can see it there, it's saved. So from there, now we're going to go into Red Team. This is the Red Team icon here. You're going to double click on that and log in. And then you're going to create a new incident. So that's this big button here, New Incident. Everything you do in Red Team is called an incident. That's just the way that they do it. So we have about, I'd say 3/4 of our forms in here right now. Not all of the forms that we have in here are fillable digitally. So the ones that aren't fillable digitally, you're going to have to still print out, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. Forms that are not in here at all have not been put in here yet. If you don't find the form in here at all, or if you look on the list that we send out with this video and that form's not on there, you're just going to submit that form the way you have in the past until we get those added as we continue on with this project. So right now we have two incident types. We have that you'll be using: personnel and suppression. Most of our forms are in personnel. Some of them are in suppression that only apply to suppression. So we're going to select personnel. If you we'll have a list on where the forms are. If you select one of these, and then you get to further on in the form and it's not there, the template's not there, that means you need to go probably into the other incident type. But we'll have that mapped out for you, so you should be able to see it. So we selected personnel for a trade, and then we're going to put today's date, and you can put an hour and a minute in here if you want. So we'll put 13:52 and create. All right, so we have it created now. The incident's created. The occurrence address, these are the tabs on the left here. We've gone through this for that last training, so we're going to just kind of go through some of this fast. There's nothing that you need to put in here for occurrence address. And then for summary, that's where we loaded the template for the Form 10. So we're going to load the template again. And the only templates that'll be available here are the ones that are under the incident type of personnel, because that's what we selected. So this is where I said if the form's not in there, then you're going to have to go back and select the other option, which would be suppression. So if I couldn't find the trade of time in here, that would mean that I'm probably in the wrong incident type. But trade of time is in here, so I'm going to select that. And it's just saying it's going to overwrite anything I have in here, which is fine because I don't have anything. So we'll load the template. Okay, so the template, unlike the Form 10 template, it actually has the Form 10 form built into it, and you just write your information for the Form 10 and you submit it. Nearly all of our forms are not going to be done that way because this area here gets a little too messy and difficult to understand what's required in the form. So we elected to go with using the PDF forms that are fillable and fill them out digitally and then attach them. So instead of seeing that template here, you're going to just see attached department form. The important thing is up top here, we have for every form that's entered in here in Red Team so far, we're putting in the routing, the way the form needs to be routed for simplicity. So if I'm submitting a trade of time, and I selected that because the routing is the most difficult for a trade of time because it has to kind of go back and forth between people. So this tells me how it needs to be routed. So submittal routing, member one, so that would be me, the person creating the trade of time. And then then when I'm done and I save that and I submit this, I'm going to submit it to member two. And then member two is going to acknowledge that he is agreeing to that trade, and he's going to forward it back to member one. So basically those are like the two signatures, right? So you have the information in there, member two signed it, then it goes back to member one. By sign, I mean he forwarded it, had approved and forwarded it. So that's his digital signature. Then member one has it, and he's going to also agree to it by approving and forwarding it. And then he's going to forward it up the chain of command to the battalion chief. For each one of these, it always says that the first supervisor should CC the members who originated it, who want to be tracking this and following it. The reason is because when you create an incident, you can't CC yourself on it. And CCing is the way that you can continue to see where this form is at in the chain, or if it's been closed out and approved, or if not, it's either sent back to you as disapproved or it just gets stagnant. So if maybe you sent it to a battalion chief who's off on vacation for a couple of weeks and you didn't know that, and you see your form's not going anywhere, so then you can find out what's going on and you can reroute it to somebody else if that's the case. Or you can contact that battalion chief and maybe, this is a new system and he's not aware he's got something waiting for him. So the first supervisor, so it would probably, if these were two firefighters, they sent it to their lieutenant. The lieutenant is going to CC both of the members, member one and member two, and then he's going to forward it to the captain or to the battalion chief, and then those members are able to see what's going on with it. So then the battalion chief then is going to send this to the scheduling office, and the scheduling office are the ones who are going to either approve or deny it. If they deny it, they're going to select deny, and they're going to forward it back down to the battalion chief, and he's going to continue sending it back down the chain until the members get notified that their trade was denied. If it's approved, then the scheduling office member is going to hit approved and forward it to the personnel officer. The reason everything goes to personnel at the end is because the personnel members are the ones who can forward these into IA Pro, release them into IA Pro. Basically, when you do that, the form is closed out, it's done, it's complete, and it's filed away. So that's what they're doing. They're basically putting it in a digital filing cabinet, and IA Pro becomes a historic record and can always be found down the road. So once you ensure that you're running it the proper way, and now you have to attach your form. So the way we do that is down here in attachments. So our next step is to go to incident links. So we don't have to do anything else here. Well, this is just going to show us how it gets routed and let us know we have to attach the form. So if we go to incident links, we want to link just like we did with the other ones. We want to add yourself as involved. So I'm going to add me as involved. And most of these forms, you'll just add yourself as involved because you're the originator. Because this is a trade of time, I'm also going to add another member. So you click add another member. You could search for that member's name and link link the member as involved as well, since there's two parties to a trade. So once that's done, you have both people linked, or if it's not a trade of time, just yourself usually. Then you're going to go to attachments, and this is where you're going to actually attach the form that we filled out. So from here, you click on add attachments, and it's very simple. You have a big box you need to drag the attachment into. So if we have our folder up here, we're going to click on our form that we filled out with our trade for today, and we're going to drag it into that box. Immediately when you do that, the form is shown down here that it is uploaded. You can check it if it's a wrong form. If I grab the wrong one by accident, you can just click on the trash can to delete it. If it's the correct one, you're just going to click on link file, and you'll see your file is linked there. Incident assignment, this is where you're going to enter your assignment in here. So if you're suppression or staff, your company and your shift, and then go to categories. Now categories is where basically if you think of IA Pro, or where all of this is going is an IA Pro, as a big digital filing cabinet. So if we get thousands of submittals a year of these forms, and if we just throw those in a filing cabinet, it wouldn't be very useful because we wouldn't be able to find anything. So that's why we put folders in a filing cabinet. So this is basically telling IA Pro which digital folder to put this in, and this is a trade of time. So when you have to add a category for every file, every form that you submit, every communication, you have to add a category. So when you click on add category, we're going to go down until we find our trade of time. There, we're going to select trade of time, add category. So that just means this is now going to go into the trade of time file. And then once we're in that file, we can search by names and find your trades of time if necessary in the future. So make sure you have to add a category in there. And then that's it. Tasks, there's nothing to be added to tasks here. So now, like I said, if it's not a fillable PDF yet, if you have a form you need to submit that is in Red Team but it's not a fillable PDF, you're going to have to fill that form out manually and then scan it in through your station scanner and email it to yourself. So the way you do that is you would print out the form, or if you already have the form, you use the forms that you have stored, and you fill it out manually. And then you're going to put that form on the scanner, and instead of hitting copy, you're going to click on send, because you're going to send this form via email to your city email address. After you hit send, it's going to come up with a prompt that asks you what the address is, the email address that you want to send it to. If you don't have, you can either select address book if your email address is already in there, programmed in there. Or if it's not, you just click on email address entry button, and then you have to type in manually your email address, your city email address. Once that's done, then you'll go ahead and click OK or send, and it's going to scan that, and it's going to send it to your city email. So when you get it in your city email, it's going to look like, here we go, it's going to look like this. So this is what it says, copier at, and it's city.cleveland.oh.us. So that's what it looks like when the copier sends you an email of a document that you scanned. And this is our document here. It's going to give it a random number. So in order to use that, we want to save that first. So let's get our folder back over here that we save our forms in. And all you have to do is kind of grab that and slide it over and drop it into the folder here of your communications. Once it's dragged in there, that text isn't very useful to us, so we're going to click on it again, and then it's going to let us edit that. So we'll put trade of time form email. All right. So and then from there the process is the same as what we showed for attaching it. Instead of dragging this one over, you would just drag this one over. Eventually we'll have all of our forms where you can be filled out digitally, so you won't have to do that. But until then, this is the way we're going to have to do it. All right, so once it's attached and you're ready to forward it, then you're going to click on forward. And for here, so I would enter member 2 in here. So if I'm doing a trade with Captain Murata, I would enter him in here because I'm the member 1, he's member 2, and I'm forwarding it to him. Now you'll see if I try to CC myself in here, this is a test, and I try to forward it, it's not going to let me because you can't CC yourself. So I have to take that out, and then that's why we have the first supervisor that forwards this is going to CC the members who are originating it, or the member, usually just a single member who's originating it. So now once I hit forward, yeah, that should be coming up. So let's close that out, try again. Forward, test, and then forward. So once we forward it, we're done. Our trade is submitted, and once the next person forwards it, the officer forwards it, and he CCs me on it, then it will come up in my carbon copies folder. It'll say a 1 there. So your carbon copy documents, those you want to keep in there until you know your form is either approved or denied. Once that's done, you can go in there and just delete those. So if you're in your carbon copy folder, nothing you delete out of here, you're not actually deleting the form at all. You can't affect the form. Carbon copies are just deleting that copy of it out of your carbon copies folder. So feel free when you're done following the form to just delete those so they don't build up in there. And I think that's about it. So we'll come out with a list of the forms that are currently being submitted through Red Team, and which of those forms, where they're at, whether they're in the suppression category or the personnel category, and then which ones can be filled digitally and which ones can't. As we continue with this project, we'll get we're going to try to get all the forms we can in there and digitally fillable, so it makes everything easier. The benefit of this is that members can track their communications, see where they're at, and there's some feedback. Either it got forwarded into IA Pro and was approved, or it got sent back to the member letting them know that it was not approved. And it's a system that's 100% trackable and verifiable. So if a form was submitted, it can't be lost or forgotten about. Something has to be done with it. So that's all I have. Thank you. If you have any questions on this, feel free to contact me at ISU. My extension is 6362. Or Pete Rodenberg also is very good with this system, so you can also contact him if I'm not available. Thank you.